Hello, my name is Josefina Medina. Today I will be talking about game based learning in fifth grade. So, to begin, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Miss Medina, and like I mentioned, I am a fifth grade teacher. A little background about myself here at El Sol Academy. I have been working at our school for the past 6 years. I started as a after school teacher for fifth grade, and then I became more interested in teaching, so I decided to enroll back in school to earn my teaching credential. At around the same time, I became a substitute teacher. Then I finally earned my credential, and now I'm here in my first ever classroom teaching fifth grade. I'm very excited to get to meet you. As the parents of my students, I have been enjoying working with them so far at the beginning of the school year at this point, and I'm very excited to get to work with you and your student to prepare them for middle school, which will be coming up at the end of fifth grade. To begin, let me tell you a little bit about what we will be talking about in our presentation. To begin, I will tell you our objective, some key points that I would like to highlight in our presentation. We will also talk about what game based learning is. We'll talk about the benefits of game based learning. I'll go over a few different educational games. There are many of them, but I will highlight a few of them. We will discuss what game based learning looks like in our fifth grade classroom, and I'll also provide some additional resources and ways to connect and continue at home. I'll wrap up our presentation by um, giving a few closing remarks, restating what we talked about, and providing yourself with my email and contact information in case you need to contact me with any further questions. At the end of my presentation, I will also include references for the work that I used to create my presentation. So to begin, the objective of my presentation is to help you understand what game-based learning is. It is a different teaching approach, so I would like to dive deeper into it and explain what it is. We'll also talk about some benefits of game-based learning. I will provide some tips and support for at-home based game-based learning, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have. And of course, if you have any other questions after my presentation, feel free to reach out. I will leave my contact information at the end. To begin, let's talk about what game based learning is. Game based learning is integrating gameplay into learning. So, not only are students working and learning, they're also playing as they go. The goals of game based learning are to increase student engagement, student motivation. And by doing these two things, we will see an improvement in their learning outcomes. We find that students learn better when they're engaged and motivated, and a great way of doing this is by having students play games. Now, you may be thinking, and this is one of my concerns when I started hearing about game based learning, well, does that mean that my student is going to sit in front of a computer all day? No, there will be some elements of game based learning that is virtual, more self guided games that they do, but I will also incorporate online and interactive, collaborative games into game based learning. Another big deal of getting students prepared to be adolescents and go into middle school is their social aspect. So I really do think that highlighting teamwork and collaborative games in game based learning is a great um, resource and very valuable for fifth grade. Game based learning encourages active participation, both online and in person. So, whether they are playing a self running game where they are just independently working, or if they're playing an in person game that requires them to work as a team, game based learning really does encourage participation. Um, Games that are played online, and we'll talk a little about more of what those are, encourage or have aspects of the game that show students where their progress is. Most of those games allow students to track their progress and how they have been improving. Those games actually award students badges and awards for improving and leveling up, which in turn increases motivation and student engagement. Um, and then these games are also adaptable. Students are able to work at their own level and at their own pace. So, for example, if it is a math game and there we have a student that really feels that the concept they are working on is very easy and not at their level, they are able to play that game a lot quicker and go and work on something that is more at their level, something that where they require a little bit more critical thinking. That way, time is not being misused in a concept that they already understand. Therefore, it could be used in a concept where they are working and they're being a little more challenged. On the other hand, if a student feels that they need more practice on a concept, they're able to slow down and take their time to really practice that concept that they're struggling with. Another aspect of game based learning is collaboration. In virtual games, and we'll talk a little about what the ones we use are, students work together to reach a point goal and then they earn a prize at the end of the goal. In person games require teamwork in order to complete the game. Some benefits of game based learning are deeper understanding of concepts. Since students are working at their own pace, um, they are more motivated, they're more engaged, which in turn allows for a deeper understanding of concepts. Students are more likely to learn when they're interested in what they're learning in, which is the benefit of game based learning. Game based learning also allows for critical thinking and problem solving, and I'll also talk about what are some of the ways that I foster those skills in our classroom. Game based learning, like I said, also encourages teamwork, collaboration, and small group interaction. This can be done virtually or in person, and we do use both in our classroom. Um, they also provide students with immediate feedback, whereas when they do a test or when they complete a worksheet, they need to wait for it to be graded and passed back to them to see where their errors or um, areas of understanding were. When they play a game online, they get an immediate report of what the concepts they understood were, what the concepts they still need to work on are, which is better for them to know where they're at, and it also helps me know what I need to continue targeting in class. And of course, the best benefit of all is game based learning makes learning more fun, which in turn increases our learning in our students. Some educational games that are available, and these are all ones that we use in our classroom, are Blooket. Um, Blooket is an online game where they have to answer questions in order to beat the game, and there's different kinds of modules that they can play. Um, Prodigy is more self-guided. It's an independent game. It's meant to be played um, on their own. Students work at their own level, and it is a math game. So they work at their level. They complete the tasks that are assigned to them based on their math level to keep progressing throughout the levels in the game. Kahoot is similar to Blooket. It can be used with any subject area, um, and it is meant to be like a quiz. So students answer the questions and they see who can earn the top spot on the leaderboard. And in our classroom, we also do hands on and interactive play. And in a few slides, I'll show you an example of that. In our classroom, we do use Blooket and Kahoot for review, especially when we have a test coming up. We do play those games in order to review and prepare for our tests. We use Prodigy as self guided math practice. Um, we do also have hands on and interactive play, and one of the strategies that I like to use is when we are in math class, we do board games with task cards. So what this looks like is students work in a team of 3 or 4 students. They each pick a board game of their choosing. The one here I have here in the example is Chutes and Ladders. But before each student can play their turn, they have to solve one of the math problems. Once they solve the math problem correctly, they can go ahead, roll the dice, and take their turn to advance through the board game. Um, and then also to foster our critical thinking skills, we have a tinkering lab in our classroom. So what this is, students can play different critical thinking games such as the Rubik's Cube, the wooden puzzle, or they can use the geodes in the microscope, and that just allows students to and um, explore a different aspect of learning that is not so much factual based, it's more critical thinking.
Whoa, whose was that? Good job.
Experience. Students were to design a paper parachute using a napkin, paper clips, and strings. We were
Whoa,
able to
whose
go
was
outside
that?
and
Good
test it.
job.
And this allowed students to think critically about what design would work best, which one didn't work, how they could improve it. Something quick and
Whoa,
easy and
whose was that?
engaging
Good job.
to reinforce the concepts that we learned in science class. So you might be wondering, what are some ways I can have my student practice game-based learning at home? The biggest one would be to continue doing the Prodigy to practice math concepts and to play board games while they're doing their practice problems. When tests come up, I will send test cards home as reviews, so you are more than welcome to play these games with your student. On this slide, you will find some resources and links to the articles if you would like to continue reading about game-based learning. And here on this slide, you will see all the references of the work that I used to create today's presentation. Thank you very much for watching my presentation. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I am available to answer any questions you may have. Once again, thank you so much for your time.